Hello, good evening. This is our final presentation for the Reversing Diabetes program, and it is on maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So, how do we maintain a healthy lifestyle? And how do we move towards total health, not just for ourselves, but for our families and our friends? Because let's be honest, it does feel good to be healthy. It does feel good to be able to move around, to have vigor and vitality, no matter what age you are. And it doesn't matter whether you're a child or whether you're an old person, it's always nice to be able to have the body that allows you to do what you want to do, to be able to spend time the way you want to spend it, and spend time with your loved ones and your family, not having to worry about taking medications every day or having to worry about, oh, this might only get worse over time or being bedridden. All of those things are not what any of us want. And if possible, all of us would avoid it as much as possible if we could. And the beauty and joy is that we actually can. The question, of course, is how do you achieve and maintain health? And how do you take control of yourself? Because you are the steward of what happens. And it takes commitment and ongoing action to constantly be in control and constantly allow yourself to enjoy good health. And there are multiple tips for success, but the four big ones are to build a strong foundation, to use diversion, to plan ahead, and to set goals. So, how do you build a strong foundation? First of all, you start each day with a good breakfast. Make it substantial with generous fiber, and also this sets you up for success all day long. So, for example, in this picture, you've got blueberries with granola, where the person is getting a lot of nutrients from the blueberries as well as from the granola. They're getting a lot of fiber from both of them, and also they're getting a lot of energy. Granola being extremely good for high GI, which is slow releasing energy, so it allows you to work throughout the day. Even if this was your only meal in the morning, if you ate enough of it, you'd be able to work throughout the day until you came back home to eat supper. And that's what you want a breakfast to be. Even if you're going to eat lunch, you want to make sure that your breakfast is big. There's this saying that you should eat like a king, eat breakfast like a king, eat lunch like a prince, and eat supper like a pauper. So essentially, you want breakfast to always be your biggest meal, and you want lunch to be your second biggest meal, and dinner to be extremely small so that you can sleep, so that your body can rest and recover, and so that you're able to then get enough rest for the next day. So, what do you do when you're badly tempted? Because there's different temptations that come for different people. And all of us have things that we like, things that we enjoy. We have sweets, we have soda, we have drinks, we have cake. What do you do, especially if you're in an environment where those temptations are hard to beat? Maybe it's at your workplace. I used to have a workplace where they would always bring baked goods, and these baked goods were cakes, sweet rolls, all sorts of cookies and things because they used to give us excess. The companies that had contracts with us used to have a lot of excess made, and so they would bring all the excess boxes over to us. And so workers were allowed to take as much as they wanted home. Every Friday, they would be shared amongst the people. And it was extremely tempting for a lot of people. Many people at my workplace were obese, overweight, and not doing well at all. But I had one coworker who had very good self-control. And the way they used to do that was that they would always try to divert themselves. Whenever it's time for, let's say, potluck, they knew, like, okay, me, I want to be healthy. I'm not okay right now. Let me just walk outside, or let me go do something else. Let me go try something. Let me go work in the mill and do something there, finish a project or finish something, instead of coming to eat and coming to take a lot of these cakes that are unhealthy. And so using diversions, like taking a walk outside, it can be anything. You can decide what it is if you enjoy it. Like for me, I enjoy walking with a dog, so I might go outside and walk the dog whenever I'm feeling tempted to do something. Or maybe I might instead read a book. You can read a book. You might want to maybe call someone, call a friend that you're very close to, and just spend time there. So there's different ways you can divert. So First of all, take a deep breath. So keep calm and take a deep breath. And then even simple things like drinking a glass of water can actually be a good diversion because many times hunger can actually be disguising your thirst. So you might be thinking like, oh, I'm actually hungry, I'm dying. What will I do? But actually, it's just the thirst that it's actually a symptom that you're thirsty. And many times for myself, whenever I've been hungry, whenever I just take a glass of water, it actually stops all of those feelings of hunger and I feel immediately fine. You can also say a prayer. You know, 3rd John 2 says, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in good health. So God wants you to be in health. He wants you to prosper and He wants you to be able to overcome these temptations, especially to make yourself unhealthy and make yourself unfit for all sorts of work, for being able to spend time the way you spend it. You want to spend it being able to spend time with Him, most importantly, being able to spend time with your family and being able to help others. So God wants you to be strong so that you can do all of these things. And of course, you can contact a supportive friend, like we said. And now we move on to the next step. So we've looked at diversion, but we also need to look at planning ahead. So you need to have a weekly menu and a weekly planner so that you know exactly what you're going to eat. This is especially useful if you're trying to change your diet. So you want to have, let's say, meals for Monday set out for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and also you have your shopping list. So at the end of the week, you know exactly what you're going to buy. For me, I used to have my shopping list where I knew exactly what I needed every single week. And I would always buy the same things, but I would kind of mix them up. And then I would be able to know, okay, this time I'm taking this time I'm taking that, this time for work at lunch I'm taking that. And it really helps you to plan out your life, to avoid temptations, and also to be able to make these lifestyle changes much, much easier. A big key of being successful at changing anything is writing down as much as possible. Get it out of your head, get it onto pen and paper, write, 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 write your progress, and especially most importantly, plan ahead so that you know what you're doing, you know when you need to do it, and also you're not wasting any brain time or any energy worrying about not knowing what to do next. And also make sure that when you're going shopping, you shop when you're full so that you're not tempted to buy any treats while you're on the go. So sometimes you might buy like chips, or you might buy a pizza or just like different foods that maybe they might not be bad, but then maybe they're not in line with your goals. Maybe they are bad and they're very much not in line with your goals. Maybe it was a snack that you would always buy yourself every time. And so it's always best to go shopping when you're full so that you're going there just for the things that you need, just for the essentials, and you're not going to buy anything else. So, um, the other thing also with changing your lifestyle is that preparing food may take longer, and also you might not immediately know how to prepare certain foods. So you cannot depend on quick fixes like frozen dinners or a trip to a local shop or a local fast food restaurant. And one way to solve this is you can find new and healthier quick fixes. So for example, you can try whole wheat pasta with a sauce that you've already bought from the store. I think it was my homestay mom who taught me this, where you always have a bottle of pasta sauce in the fridge, at least healthy pasta sauce like tomato, pesto, made from natural ingredients. It doesn't last very long because once you open it, you have to finish it within the week, but that's because it's all just natural ingredients, so it's not going to go bad. Or you can make one by yourself at home. You just take some tomatoes, you roast them a bit, and then you blend with some other things to give it flavor. And then you just have pasta in your pantry. So that might be noodles if you want, or it might be macaroni or spaghetti. You get home, you just start the water boiling, you put your macaroni inside, 8 minutes, it's done, and then you add the sauce, and then just like that, you've got a quick fix. For me, my other quick fix was just peanut butter and whole wheat bread, or even just fruits and nuts, especially on a day when I don't want to cook anything. I would always have fruits and nuts in the pantry, whether it's almonds or peanuts. There's always something quick that I can just eat. and be able to satisfy my hunger at a time when I don't want to eat. So there's all sorts of quick fixes you can find that are healthy and that will help you as long as you stick to very good principles. Frozen vegetables are also the best to use for stir fry. If you can keep frozen vegetables, you can also make your own frozen vegetables. You buy vegetables from the market, you boil them for a bit, or you just cook them just a bit, you steam them a bit, and then you put them in the fridge in a lunchbox. And then whenever you need them, you take out that little lunchbox and then you pour that into the stir fry pan or into a pot and you start cooking straight away. And also having tinned beans. This was especially good for me for work when I was working night shifts. I would always carry tinned beans or tinned legume soup, and then I would carry some bread and a few other things, and then I would be able to just have a very simple meal ready whenever I don't have to worry about it. Like when you're doing night shift, you kind of sleep throughout the day, so you'd be a bit too groggy and tired to start cooking the moment you wake up because you have to go for the shift sometimes. So it's much easier to just have something that's already pre-made, tinned, natural, and also using health that you make sure you look for a brand that uses healthy ingredients, of course, and then you buy those tins and then you keep them in the fridge, in the pantry, and you have that whenever you need something quick. Also, make sure to always keep fresh, clean vegetables in the fridge, which you're going to use to add to salad greens. You can pack some for lunch, you can use for pizza toppings, you can toss in a soup to make a stew to increase the fiber content. And always plan ahead by doubling the recipe. So don't just make enough food for that day or that night. Always make more than you need, at least twice more than you need, and then freeze the portions for later on. You don't even have to eat that portion that you've saved tomorrow. You could eat it maybe 2 days later. The best time to leave food in the fridge, or if you're freezing it completely, it can go for longer, but if it's just the refrigerator, 2 days max should be your maximum, but then you can eat it 2 days later, so the next day you can prepare another meal just to give you variety. But all of these things can help you with planning ahead. If you're eating out, make sure to plan ahead what you're going to order. Many restaurants have online menus, so you can look up the menu online and then be able to decide what you want. And again, setting goals. So the goals have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. So this is the last part where, again, we're going to talk about SMART goals because this is probably the most important way to actually enforce these lifestyle changes and help yourself be able to make these changes. So what does a specific goal mean? A specific goal is not general, like, oh, I'm just going to eat better. It means saying exactly what you're going to eat and exactly maybe what you're going to stop doing. So you could say, I'm going to eat more fresh vegetables and I'm going to limit eating out to once a week. It has to be realistic. And what does realistic mean? Realistic means it's not too big where you're going to lose and you're going to give up. So, for example, if you're going to say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in a week, 50 pounds in a week. No, there's not even a human being that can put on 50 pounds in a week, gain that much weight just from eating. Even bodybuilders at least gain like max 2 pounds. Well, that's even too much. Maybe like everyone can at least gain 1 pound a week. That's like the body's natural rate of weight gain. So, equally, the same way that the body gains weight very slowly, it also loses weight very slowly because it has to make sure that it's removing the stuff carefully. It's not just complete. If you just completely take everything out, just run randomly, just rapidly, you end up like those people who go through liposuction and then they have huge flaps of skin all over their body where all the extra fat has been just removed. And then they have to go through surgery now to remove all this skin, and it's awful. It just looks absolutely disgusting. And so the body knows what to do. The body knows how to lose weight carefully, properly, and also it can do it the right way. So don't despair thinking, oh, this will take long. No, just make your goal realistic. Look up what a realistic goal is for what you're trying to achieve. So, for example, 1 pound a week for 4 weeks, that is very realistic and that is easily attainable just by changing what you're eating and just by exercising a bit more, especially the eating part. The eating part is probably the most important thing Many people think that if I just start running extremely long runs or extremely fast every day, I'm going to lose weight rapidly. Well, you lose that weight, but you probably gain it back. You might not even lose it. The body actually might hold on to that weight even more. But if you change your diet, the body immediately gets the signal to say, oh, this is supposed to happen now because this has happened. The diet has changed. Okay, let me start dropping. Diet is actually the biggest factor in weight loss. And so just setting a realistic goal to say, let me change my diet and let me lose my weight slowly, 1 pound per week, that's very possible. And they have to be sustainable goals. So you might say, for example, I'm going to walk to the post box each day this week versus I'm going to hike the Coventry Way 40 miles this week. Well, this is an example. This is in the UK, of course, but for us in Zambia, for example, it might be saying, I'm going to walk Freedom Way, or I'm going to walk Chachacha Road, or I'm going to walk Independence Avenue. I'm going to go from Lusaka to uh, to Chilanga every single day or throughout the week. Whereas you could just say, no, I'm just going to go outside. I'm just going to walk up to my gate and back. Or I'm going to walk up to my church if it's nearby and back. Or I'll just walk up to the Kantemba nearby and back. That's a very simple, sustainable goal that even you will be able to say, okay, this I can do. And this I can manage to. It doesn't matter what schedule comes up. Like if you're busy at work or whatever, you can always go to the Kantemba every time when you come back from work. Um, and another question that's very important is, what if you plateau? What happens if you plateau? Plateau means that you stop making progress. And there are many people, actually, all of us go through this where you're making a lot of progress. Maybe you're making fast progress, you're making slow progress, but eventually the progress just stops and everything just comes to a halt. So, what do you do? Well, first of all, look at what you're eating. Are there too many hidden oils? Are there too many nuts? Are there too many hidden sugars or too much cheese? Because even though you're eating things that are healthy, there's always too much of certain things, especially with nuts. Nuts are a great example. I used to eat too much of just one type of nut. I used to eat peanuts every single day, a huge serving. And I ended up getting this really bad psoriasis, which is just rash, eczema all over my legs. So my legs were completely covered because when I was a kid, I used to have really bad eczema. But now it all came back when I started eating so many nuts every single day. And too much of, even though it's a good thing, too much of a good thing can also be bad. So you have to look at what you're eating, consider being temperate and trying to find a good balance of health as well as temperance in the healthy things. Another question also, are you reading the nutritional facts of what you're eating? Are you reading the ingredient lists? Are you sure that what you're eating is actually healthy? Are there partially hydrogenated vegetable oils or saturated or unsaturated fats or saturated fats that are hidden inside? Are you eating enough fiber? Always do a quick fiber check, list the foods and the amount of fiber in grams if you can, and be sure that you're eating at least 40 grams of fiber per day, which you can just figure out even just once. So one day you can just say, okay, usually I'll eat 3 apples, I'll eat this, I'll eat that. Then you just go online, and you can even find a fiber calculator, or you can say, yeah, I think just a fiber calculator, and you can count how many grams are in the foods that you're eating. It will count it for you, add it up, and then you'll be able to see, okay, in a day, generally, I eat this much vegetables in the morning, at lunch, this much at supper, and then I eat fruits in the morning. So I'm getting this much fiber, and that will help you a lot. Also, make sure to simplify. So the fewer ingredients, the better. Simple foods are better than highly processed foods, always are natural rather than processed. And the fewer the ingredients, also your body will be very thankful because when you have fewer ingredients, it's less work for it to do. And also it's able to do as much work as possible to be able to extract all the nutrients from that food instead of it being a complex mix. And also if it's a complex mix, maybe there's only few nutrients in certain parts of the food and the other parts of the foods just don't have any nutrients. So you're actually lacking in the end, and maybe you're just taking empty calories, and that's why you're plateauing in your weight loss or in your goals and in your sugar, in your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is not changing because you're just eating a lot of empty calories without knowing it. Um, You can also add more raw foods, so chopped vegetables, salads, and fresh fruits. You also have to stop eating when you're full and be mindful of what you're eating. Always put the food on your plate rather than eating out of a packet so that you're able to see it, you're able to know, okay, I'm eating this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Also, increase your intensity of exercise. Exercise is beneficial, but a lack of exercise is not the primary reason for weight problems. Exercise can never take the place of a health food diet. So do try to increase your intensity of exercise, but also still make sure to focus as much as possible on the diet because nothing can take the place of a healthy diet. If your blood glucose is not coming under control, again, go back to the basics. If you're overweight, weight loss is the strongest predictor of a healthy drop in your blood sugar levels. If you're not overweight, the same tips we have just covered about diet are keys to bringing your glucose under control. So, thinking about eating more raw vegetables, thinking about looking at the nutritional facts, counting how much fiber you're getting, all those things come to play. And also avoiding high fat foods. So not just fried foods, but even nuts. So like nuts, again, nuts are healthy, but you have to limit and be careful with what you're doing with them. Avocados also, be careful. Crisps, chips, and similar things, condiments, baked goods like donuts and muffins, all of those. Avoid sugary foods, of course, so choose healthy carbohydrate-rich foods. Use the glycemic index to help you. Low GI, low fat, and high fiber are the best, always. And also check your stress levels because stress always raises the blood sugar, the natural fight or flight response. So the reason why we were created with this is because it's very useful when you're under attack. So if there are predators or anything nearby, your body will start having a high blood sugar level so that you're able to run. So it will not be able to take in sugar from your meal. It will not be able to convert the glucose into glycogen. Instead, the glucose will just stay in the bloodstream so that it's ready for use so that you can run as fast as you can or you can fight off whatever problem you have. But if you are just stressed, let's say in a 9 to 5 job, constantly under stress, you're not fighting, you're not fleeing, all of that blood sugar is just staying inside your bloodstream and it's creating a lot of problems for you. And you maybe are not even exercising to at least help with that. But there may also be financial difficulties that you're having, which are genuine difficulties. And also, you might have relationship problems within your family or with your friends. There are also health problems that you might genuinely have, and they're also stressing you out. So it's like you can't win. I think stress, you just can't win because if you do have health problems, then you're stressed, and then that stress also creates more problems where your blood glucose is not under control. So it's not a win-win situation. And the truth is that when you're stressed, especially even if it's temporary, you'll see your sugar spike resolve quickly. But if it's ongoing, you need to get help because you're going to continuously have this blood glucose not coming under control. If you're constantly stressed from family, relationships, and all these things, it's better to ask for help, ask for people who can help you, have less stress, sort of try to figure out people you can reach out to within your family or within your community to help you either deal with the problems or to just help you calm down and be able to feel better. So make sure also to see your doctor because it could also be a sign of an early infection when you have blood glucose that's not coming under control. It could be a cold or a urinary tract infection, a foot sore, ear infection, or any other type of infection. So your body is trying to keep glucose inside the bloodstream so that it can be able to fight off the infection as quickly as possible. So that's something to check for. You can go to your doctor. But then a question that people always have is what about persistent hunger? Because many times you'll always be hungry, especially if you are pre-diabetic or you have type 2 diabetes. And the question to ask instead is, are you eating enough high fiber foods? Are you eating enough low fat foods? Are you eating enough low GI foods like your oats and your healthy starches? If you are eating from the first three categories, are you keeping track of your portion sizes and are you counting your calories? All of these things are important. At least Even if you don't want to do it every single meal, at least do it once to get a baseline and an idea of what you're doing and see whether what you've been eating, the way you've been eating, is actually okay and is actually enough. And you'd be surprised. Many times when I've done this, I've actually found that I'm not okay and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's why it's always important to check. It's always important to write things down. Write. Calculate things, figure things out. Even if it's just one time, just look through, take account and review what you're eating, what you're doing. It will save you a lot of trouble, save you a lot of headaches, and really help you going forward after you do that. You cannot eat everything or anything, but you can eat freely of all high fiber, low fat, and high nutrient and low calorie foods. So you can eat as many vegetables as you want. You can eat as many fruits as you want that are healthy and that aren't going to spike your blood sugar, like enough apples. You can eat all of these foods. You actually get tired of eating them very quickly before you exhaust your upper limit when it comes to first grade foods because the body gets tired. It will tell you immediately, look, I can't do this anymore, which is actually a huge contrast to unhealthy food. Unhealthy food, you can never find a limit. If you notice when you're eating unhealthy food, you always want more and more. So I have a friend, for example, who always wants more Fanta, or always wants more Coca-Cola, or always wants more chips or fries. Like you can never really get full. You just keep eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. And all that stuff is unhealthy, and you can imagine what it's going to do to your body. Um, and so cravings are triggered by biological properties of the foods themselves. It's in their chemical makeup. In reality, actually, uh, with the foods, only certain foods lend themselves to cravings. Some foods tempt everyone in the same way. So even though some people might say, oh, me, I'm not tempted by this type of food, I'm not tempted by that type of food. That's true. There are specific things which are very subjective, but there are certain foods that are very objectively tempting for everyone in the exact same way. And so there are four types of food. They are not as strong as drugs, but they still trigger biochemical effects like those of drugs. And these addictive foods are anything containing sugar, anything containing chocolate, anything containing cheese, and anything containing meat. All of these stimulate the brain's pleasure center, and that stress can often become, you end up trying to think of alleviating it in form of giving in to your cravings. So when stressed, have you ever noticed that you won't turn to foods like apples or oranges or bananas or asparagus? Instead, in fact, even globally around the world, what are comfort foods? Especially in the US, there's a category of foods called comfort foods, especially in the festive season, during like Halloween and Thanksgiving. People say, oh, you have to eat comfort foods, especially in the winter time. And those comfort foods usually are your baked goods, it's your pumpkin pies, it's your chocolates, it's your sweets, all of the things that you get for Christmas and all these things. The comfort foods that relieve stress, but also activate those pleasure centers in your brain. You don't see anyone saying, oh, apples are my comfort foods, or oranges are my comfort food, or bananas are my comfort food. Instead, it's always the pleasurable sweet stuff, your turkeys, your pot pies, your meat pies, and all these things. So we do turn to sugar, chocolate, cheese, or meat, and they are more than mere foods because they have a chemical effect on our brain. And the best way to deal with these foods is to stop teasing yourself. Set them aside completely, at least for now, while you're trying to overcome your diabetes or your prediabetes. Do not keep them in the house at all. Do not buy them and don't worry about tomorrow. Just take care of today. So just try and find some foods that you like amongst the healthy foods that can keep you satisfied while you're at least going through this period so that you can make sure to come off of these foods that are addictive and that are also not helping you in your diabetes journey. Cravings kick in when you are hungry, so always eat a healthy and hearty breakfast and do not skip any meals. Get regular exercise so you're tired enough to sleep well and always get plenty of rest. Avoid situations that trigger cravings, so like watching certain TV shows, You know, when you want to binge a series or a movie, even in the cinemas, what's the most common food that people always get when you're going for cinema? What's literally sold at every counter? It's popcorn, popcorn and soda. So soda having the sugar, popcorn having the fat, and a lot of other things depending on the flavor of popcorn you choose. And we'll binge on that popcorn or on that soda, or even chocolates and sweets. That's the comfort food that you get when you're watching a movie at a cinema or even at home. Um, and it also might mean avoiding certain friends who tempt you to doing certain things. So for now, just walking away for a bit, telling them that, look, I'm on this journey. I've got to do this right now. Yes, I know we always go for ice cream every Saturday or every Sunday in the evenings or Saturday in the evenings, or we always go for coffee in the morning. You and I were always there at the line, or we're always making it together if it's a husband and a wife. So it's trying to say you don't even have to like push them away. You can just tell them, look, I need to just pause on this thing for now so that I can be able to reduce the sugar and help myself with this diabetes thing. Many of them will understand. Some of them, you might just have to walk away, unfortunately, but you can always find new friends or they will also come around eventually. Sometimes when you walk away, it's the best thing because you're also influencing them and helping them to see, like, okay, this is very important. Maybe even I should stop this thing that I'm doing. And it will help them and save their life also. So if you crave sugar, eat a piece of fruit. And also, if you want, you can use other sweeteners like maple syrup, molasses, honey, or stevia. But something very interesting, if you actually start reducing the amount of sweeteners that you use, all sweeteners, even if you're eating, let's say, rice pudding or cereal in the morning or something like that, and it's a cereal without sugar. Many cereals have sugar, but maybe you cook your own and it's maize meal porridge or something like that. What I find is that as you reduce eating sweeteners, you actually start to taste the natural sweetness of the food itself. And the food is actually very delicious, and you get to taste things that you've never tasted before because all of it was masked by the sweetness. So many times it can even start to become enjoyable because the reality is, even with, let's say, maize meal porridge starts to break down in your mouth and it becomes simple sugars just in your mouth. So you taste the sugar right away. You taste some sweetness and you taste some flavor, which is very nice. All of the foods in the world have this. That's why when cooking, there's this concept of caramelization, where if you're cooking your food, the chefs know how to do this best. You have to glaze it in a certain way. Even the meats, you can glaze in a certain way so that you break down certain parts of the food into really simple sugars, which are essentially a type of caramel. And that caramel being like when you take sugar and you burn it more, it becomes caramel, which is a special flavor, like a burnt sugar flavor, which is very tasty. And when you have that on different foods, even the meats and the this and the that, it really brings out the flavor for those who eat that type of stuff. And that's just because all natural foods has this level of complex stuff, complex molecules that can be broken down into simple sugars. The moment you start chewing, the moment you start eating, you always get that sweetness and that flavor. So you're not really missing out. Um, and of course, genetics play a part, as we were saying in the previous session. So some people are more susceptible to food addictions, and food addictions and cravings are physical issues, not moral issues. They are due to the properties of the foods themselves and how they interact with our natural biochemistry. Because of the cravings, your body is having this uh, physiological response where it's trying to get something that it thinks it needs because of how it's interacting with your biochemistry in your body. And it's more difficult for a smoker to cut back than to quit. For a smoker, if they just cut back, they'll actually always come back smoking more cigarettes than if they just quit cold turkey because they're allowing their body to still um, tolerate those biochemical pathways that they've built. It's also more difficult for an alcoholic to drink moderately than to quit drinking altogether. And in fact, most moderate drinkers can quickly become heavy drinkers, or their children will become heavy drinkers. And it's more difficult for you to tease yourself with foods that have a hold of you than to leave them alone completely. So it's better to just leave them alone completely than to entertain them. And if you're not achieving your goals, always refer back to the notes from this series of meetings and get back on the track to success. So there was a study by Dan Buettner of National Geographic Society and the National Institute on Aging, and the longevity study, um, they had four top areas which were geographically designed, and they sent in teams of experts, and they were trying to determine factors that contribute to longevity. And this famous study, and essentially what came out of it, is here by Dan Wetner, this book that he published called The Blue Zones, where he studied these different regions where people live extremely long, and he tried to find out what different factors determine their longevity in those communities. So the blue zones he found were Loma Linda, California, Costa Rica, Sardinia, and Okinawa in Japan. And he found that the calculus of aging offers us two options. We can live a shorter life with more years of disability, or we can live the longest possible life with the fewest bad years. As my centenarian friend showed me, the choice is largely up to you. And these centenarians, the people who live to 100 years, are the people who live in these blue zones, and they make choices every day to be healthy so that they can live long, happy, productive lives instead of short, miserable, disabled lives. And so diabetes management is 90% up to the patient and only 10% up to the doctor. And there are different classes that and sessions that we've given you throughout this Managing and Reversing Diabetes, Type 2 Diabetes program. But the self-management support that you should learn on your own and through watching these videos and through the different lessons, the meal plans and whatnot, learning to manage your diabetes on your own is 90% of the most important thing that will completely change your life and help you in fighting back against diabetes. And again, we just want to reiterate SMART goals and what they are. They are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. These are your SMART goals, and these should be your bread and butter for being able to beat diabetes, being able to overcome your genetic predisposition if you're predisposed in your family, and also being able to leave a good legacy through your genes, where your genes become activated. The good genes that prevent diabetes will then also be passed on to your offspring, and you'll be able to help them also by teaching them a good lifestyle so that they're able to live long, happy, productive lives, as well as you, and you're able to see them, your grandchildren, and many more, and you have the body and the capability to hold them, to play with them, to do all sorts of things with them, whatever you want with them, as well as whatever you want on your own in your own time. You have the body, you have the strength, you have the health to be able to do that long into old age. And also, most importantly, you have the strength and health to be able to serve God well, to be able to help people, and to be able to obey Him fully and do different things that He wants, to be able to spend time with Him, have a saving relationship with Him, and also be able to get to know Him throughout your years happily and healthily. Thank you so much for being part of this program. This is the last session video, and I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope it has helped you, especially this last video, to be able to learn how to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Thank you so much.